A clash with the monster army. What happened? They galloped through the cave passage. So many numbers are too stupid. The formation is meaningless. Stop talking, run, Nano. Nano continued crying, and Cole followed closely behind. He shouted back in an extremely urgent voice. Minotaur, and Cerberus, and even the hated enemy, Fong Liger. A large number of monsters wanted to kill them with the largest amount of weapons in the dungeon. The 7th squad, which was not absent and in good condition, should be able to suppress the monsters by force. However, Nano and the others who were forced to engage in a continuous battle, are now very depleted of physical strength. They don't even have the option to face the enemy face to face. The maze situation. The dungeon licked its tongue and gradually drove Nano and the others to despair. New shoots, new green light. Grow, grow, grow. Climb the trees, feed the flowers, adorn the forest. At this moment, the elf Lefiya resolutely sang. Compared with Nano, a pure wizard, his magical power is not high, but his dexterity and agility are excellent in his abilities. She can be called a forest hunter who is good at arching and singing. Although it was still level 2, she recalled Lefiya's teachings, and only focused on the 2 actions of moving and singing, playing parallel singing. Then tie up and punish the barbarians. This is protected forest sanctuary. While running, she stroked all kinds of things that make up the labyrinth with one hand, touching like planting seeds, then particles of light were born and several small magic circles were unfolded. Then, just before the roaring monsters passed by, she activated magic. Silver vine. Countless whips of light, or magic vines, grew from the magic circle in one breath. The vines with green light are like a trap to trap the monsters that chase their prey, trapping them. The limbs and body were tightly entangled, and the monster army fell to the ground, shaking the ground so that there was a sound. This is your carefully prepared, binding magic. But Lefiya didn't even have time to feel the emotion of the monster being beautifully tied up by magic. She turned her upper body as she ran, aiming for the target. With her feet off the ground and her body turned, she instantly shot the 3 arrows into the bow. The arrows pierced the heads of the monsters struggling to free themselves, taking their lives. Nano. Yes. Seeing the hunter's beautiful skills, Cole, who was running at full speed, pressed the ground with one hand to dig the surface and reverse direction. He turned around with Nano, and the 2 short swords slashed the necks of the Minotaur and Cerberus, who were about to break free at any moment. The chain drew a tall circular arc, and the fist-sized iron ball in front absorbed the girl's magic power, turning into a head-sized ball of light, and then gave rise to countless spikes of magical power. The magic star hammer, an invention of alchemy that the school district is proud of, exploded among the monsters. Even though he was a mage, it was a hard and strong blow that was thrown using the LV3. This blow shattered all the monsters that fell to the ground and also created countless cracks on the ground. The monsters' roar disappeared and now only the sound of the students' breathing echoed. Nano was about to rush to the side of the hero who broke the crisis, but her words stopped midway. Panting, Lefiya staggered near the monster's corpse, then tightly grabbed the arrow that was just shot and pulled it out. With a snap, one of the 3 arrows snapped. There are only 5 arrows left now. She looked at the remaining 2 arrows in her right hand, frowned, and placed them in the quiver on her waist. Nano and Cole couldn't say anything. Lefiya's current appearance truthfully shows the current situation of herself and others. What other props do you have? 1 recovery potion, half a spiritual power recovery potion. The food has been eaten and there is only a little water left. On the road, the 3 ignored the monster. The corpses sat in a circle while adjusting their breathing. Upon hearing the inaudible voice of the boy in charge of putting away the backpack, the faces of Lefiya and Nano who were sitting next to each other looked even more tired. Current location, 17th floor. The collapse blocked the way forward. Nano and the others were forced to change their route several times and finally arrived here, but now the limit steps finally gradually approached them. Items are consumed quickly. Much faster than normal. According to Cole's prediction, some supplies should be enough, but they are now almost exhausted. The extreme state of the dungeon. I underestimated this. I underestimated the body's consumption in this situation. Mental exhaustion and the heavy burden of pressure. They feel the threat of the maze all the time, and the water, food and recovery items prepared for the small expedition are about to run out. It's been almost a day since we entered the dungeon. Cole steadied his trembling fingers and took out the pocket watch Lefiya gave him. Without supplies, level 2 can be active in the dungeon for a day. Lefiya said so. However, the note, assuming an adventurer, is added to this. Cole and the others are just students who want to become adventurers and lack much experience. Even in a fight with a monster, the consumption level is very high. Regardless of whether it can be done or not, they must change tactics to aim for the magic stone, killing them in one hit. Cole desperately adjusted his disordered breathing. He is very clear that he has half a foot in the state of confusion. The weather seems strange. The sky is blocked. There is always a dark underground labyrinth oppressing the heart. Still less than a day has passed. If this continues, it will take a long time to wait for rescue. Can they find us? No, it can't be like that. You can't count on others. But. Cole, who was only 15 years old, could say that this was the most difficult situation of his short life. Furthermore, he desperately resisted the despondent alter ego. And the same goes for Lefiya and Nano, who didn't say a word. Now the team leader, Luke. No, Cole, who was paying attention to the team status, realized that the team was about to collapse. Lefiya, Cole, you can use the props. I don't need water. After all, I'm level 3. I'm better than both of you. Protecting? You should resupply. If the mage can't move at a critical moment, that's the biggest burden. At this moment, hearing Nano speak, Cole came back to his senses. Lefiya looked at her, who was smiling awkwardly, and said the same. Loot supplies. Nano and the others wouldn't commit these worst behaviors. They never even thought about it. This has happened to Cole's team before. After being killed on fieldwork that was much easier than today, the students fought back. Cole was helpless and could only watch in a daze. Then the troops dispersed. Cole really likes this 7th team. Team members respect each other, help each other, create bonds and support each other. Whether it's an elf or a human, race doesn't matter. He likes it a lot. So, he didn't want to lose this team. Cole pushed the recovery medicine to Lefiya and the mental power recovery medicine to Nano. In front of them who were stunned, he stood up and smiled. The wound on his head, which was wrapped in a cloth and should have stopped bleeding, suddenly hurt. This is the medal a handsome man deserves. It was Cole who imitated the actions of Luke, whom he looked up to as a brother. Let's move on. It's just a little closer to the 18th floor. This appeal probably also contains a wish. Even so, Nano and the others still chose to believe this kind young man's words. After using up the last supply he gave, he stood up and nodded vigorously in response. This is the last route. If this location is also blocked by the collapse, you will be finished. You will be discouraged and unable to return. You will never return to the ground. Scout Cole was in front and the three approached. His hand curled into a cylindrical shape, map and pray. It can't go on like this. Please. Let's go. Cole's praying to God behavior is the most foolish action an adventurer should take. Relying on just one ray of hope will be greatly impacted when it fails. Therefore, the more experienced adventurers are, the more often they imagine the worst-case scenario and act based on that premise. Cole himself tied a rope around his neck. However, perhaps it was the dungeon's whim. They were let through. That's great, Miley, Nano. We've reached the Great Passage. Just follow this path from now on. Thanks to our usual behavior. The large passage leading to the deepest hall on the 17th floor. This is a passage huge enough for giants to pass through. Even if it collapses, it cannot be completely blocked. Traces of the collapse can be seen everywhere, but now that we're here, we just need to move forward. Nano made a cheerful voice and Milia showed a relieved smile. Cole also regained his vitality. While straightening his nerves to protect himself against monster attacks, he also quickened his pace. With hope in their eyes and smiles on their faces, they moved forward and forward.